Hey guys, and welcome to Relationship Chronicles. Today we have a cheating revenge story from one of my subscribers that I will walk you through with. And afterwards I'll give my opinion and advice to the subscriber on how to deal with this situation. I picked up the phone from the nightstand, muttering to myself, wondering who on earth would be calling me at 1:30 in the morning. On the screen, I saw my wife's phone number. I heard a sob come from the other end before I could say anything else. "Can you hear me, Daddy?" My anger dissipated in a flash. "Sure, pumpkin. What's up?" "I'm all wet and cold, Daddy." "How come my sleeping bag is wet?" "Because there's a puddle on the floor in the tent." "Can't Mummy help you get dry?" "Mummy isn't here." "Why isn't she there?" "It's the middle of the night." "Do you know where she is?" "Yes, Daddy." "Well, where is she?" "She tucked Mickey and me in after our barbecue dinner and went over to Uncle Dave's tent." "Why didn't you go and get her?" "She told us to stay in our tent no matter what. She said she would be very angry if she was disturbed." My blood pressure was rising. Dave Murdoch married my wife, sister. He was a sleazy son of a witch who was always making inappropriate remarks to my wife and touching her when he thought I wasn't looking. A week ago, my wife Mandy suggested we head to our favorite campground about 2 hours out of town in the foothills, a beautiful spot that we visited 3 or 4 times a year. Her sister, Sue, and husband Dave had agreed to join us. I am an architect, working mainly on high-priced homes individually designed for select customers. I don't advertise my reputation as well established from word-of-mouth referrals, and I have enough projects coming up to keep me busy for at least the next 2 years. We live in a 3-level home in a leafy suburb in the outer metropolitan area. My design studio occupies the top floor. We were due to leave home after the kids finished school on Friday. It was a 2-hour drive to the campsite, so we would have plenty of time to set up camp before darkness set in. A terrified builder who had collaborated with me on numerous project homes called the day before to report an issue with the house we were constructing roof design. His intuition informed him that the design was defective and would fail in severe weather. Even though a structural engineer had examined and approved the roof structure. After rechecking my drawings, I had serious doubts too, and agreed to meet the builder on site on Friday morning. It was obvious that it would take more than a few hours to rework the plans, so I phoned Mandy, explained the problem, and suggested she take the kids in her car so I could join them sometime on Saturday. She was surprisingly agreeable, so I was able to concentrate on correcting my error. Which brings us to the phone call on Friday night, or rather Saturday morning. "Okay, pumpkin," I said gently, quelling my anger. "Is your brother there?" "Yes, Daddy." "Is his sleeping bag dry?" "Yes, Daddy." "Is Mummy's sleeping bag there?" "Yes, Daddy." "Is it dry?" "Yes." "Here's what I want you to do. I want you and Mikey to pack your clothes into your carry bags. You climb into your mother's sleeping bag and stay in the dry part of the tent. I will leave here right now and come straight to your tent." "Is it in the usual place in the campground?" "Yes, Daddy." "All right, now, pack up. Go to sleep and I'll wake you up when I get there. Good night, pumpkin." "Good night, Daddy." With virtually no traffic on the roads, I cut out the 2-hour trip in a little over an hour and a half, easily spotting our bright orange tents somewhere close to our usual spot. The reason for water ingress was obvious. My wife had pitched the tent on sloping ground and the lower side was nestled in a 3-inch deep puddle. Quietly bringing the car to a stop alongside, I opened the tent flap. The beam of my flashlight captured my 2 angels sound asleep, snuggled up against each other on the high side of the tent. Their packed bags side by side, next to their sleeping bags. They responded a little groggily from being awakened, but I gently placed both of them in the back of the car, still wrapped in their sleeping bags, and threw their carry bags on the front passenger seat. I recognized Dave's tent 50 or so meters away. His car parked a couple of steps in front of the entry, quietly approaching the tent. I reached down and with a great sweep, drew the entry zipped completely open, immediately shining my flashlight inside. Captured in the bright beam was my brother-in-law, Dave, with the 2 sisters lying one on either side of him. It looked as if they had opened up 2 sleeping bags, using one to lie on and the other as a cover. Dave reacted instantly. "Get the hell out of our tent, you purring asshole!" he yelled. I held the flashlight beam steady, flinging back the cover. He exposed both women fully naked, scrambled to his feet and charged at me, holding the flashlight as steady as possible. I stepped to one side instead of headbutting an intruder. He continued his rush out of the tent. My work boot lashed out at his lower legs as he flew by, eliciting a howl of pain and sending him headlong into his own car door with a groan. He dropped like a stone into the wet earth, and suddenly it was very still, swinging the flashlight beam back into the tent. I noticed that both women had tried to cover up and were cowering in fear. Finally breaking my silence, I suggested that Dave might need some help out here, and to my wife, "You can keep the tent, darling, since you won't be coming home anytime soon. I'm taking the kids." "No," she screamed, "you can't do this to me. It isn't what it looks like." She was yelling at my back, though, as I purposefully strode back to the car, fired it up, and started to turn. The kids, awakened by the noise, both sat up and looked out of the car windows as lights were switched on in surrounding tents. "Daddy," called Mikey, "why is Mommy running over here with no clothes on?" As my headlight swept across her, she froze, shielding her eyes from the bright lights. "I don't know, Mikey. Maybe we can ask her sometime. Now, lie down and go back to sleep." Epilogue: my beloved brother-in-law had a difficult time. He had hit his head on his car door, breaking a bone in his leg and cussing him. I was hoping he would try to sue me for assault, but that didn't work out. He made no attempt to report the occurrence. My legal advisor is a great friend and astute commercial negotiator, but told me immediately that family matters. Their polite terminology for divorce is not his area of expertise. He did, however, refer me to an associate who had the reputation of being a tough operator. After explaining the circumstances of the weekend, I made it clear that I wanted custody of our 2 children, pointing out that any mother who could leave her children unattended in an open campground to further her own carnal aspirations was not a suitable person to have control of children. The lawyer's lips curled in eager anticipation of battle. It is not often that a father is given custody by the family court, and he took it as a personal challenge. The divorce was messy and dragged on for 18 months before she finally conceded. We were done. I put up no resistance to her request for visitation rights, and the court agreed that since my work was primarily from home, that I would be a suitable custodial parent. A funny thing happened at much the same time. Mandy's sister Sue divorced Dave. Dave did not contest, and they were free of each other well before my own divorce was finalized. It seems that Sue was not a willing participant in the threesome with her husband and sister. As for me, I'm not looking for another relationship. I love my 2 kids to bits and spend as much time with them as I can. Mandy initially came to visit several times a week, but then it dwindled to every couple of weeks. And now we are lucky if we see her every couple of months. She complains that the kids are unkind towards her. I date occasionally ones intended to ask my ex-wife to come and sit with them, but the kids vetoed that immediately. So the friendly old lady from down the road stays with them on those rare occasions when I go out. The kids think she's great at a bar with a friend. On evening, a gentle tap on my shoulder turned me around. "Hi, stranger." Sue smiled at me. We spent the next 3 hours bringing each other up to date on the past 3 years. My ex-wife has decided that alcohol is the cure to all of her problems. She dates regularly, but finds it hard to hang on to a man for long. Sue dated rarely after her divorce from Dave. She was happy with her lot in life, but her biggest regret was the failure to have a family. "You are so lucky to have your 2 beautiful children," she said wistfully. "I would love to look after them if ever you need a sitter." I mused. "How would you like to come over tomorrow night for dinner?" I'm not a great cook, but my barbecue skills are sensational. The 2 children were excited the following evening. They had not seen their aunt since that fateful weekend, and were looking forward to her arrival. The steaks were delicious, and the fresh salad I bought earlier was perfect. I put the disappointed children to bed an hour or so after dinner was over. They could not get enough of their aunt and refused to leave her alone in the peaceful surroundings of the living room. I opened a new red wine from the Barossa Valley. While we talked, I discovered that Dave had lusted over my wife since joining our family and was forever trying to convince Sue to persuade her sister to make up a threesome at the campground. He made his own overtures and convinced my ex that I would never know. He told Sue often that he had married the wrong sister. The camp incident was the final straw. Sue moved closer to me and placed an arm over my shoulder. We kissed, tentatively. "I'm not sure this is a good idea," I ventured. "Neither am I. But I'm not going to my grave wondering." My shy sister-in-law turned, and before I realized it, we were passionately making out. "Let's take this upstairs," she suggested. We did. She stayed. Perhaps I too married the wrong sister. But I plan on correcting that as soon as I can. Let's move on to my thoughts and advice for the person who's dealing with the problem. This story is a testament to the human spirit's ability to overcome adversity. The protagonist's calmness and prioritization of his children's well-being in the face of infidelity is admirable. His strength and resilience led to a brighter future with a new loving family unit. His determination to protect his children sets a great precedent for other fathers in similar situations. I wish you the best of luck moving forward. Thank you all for taking the time to listen to today's stories. If you enjoyed listening, please feel free to like and subscribe if you haven't already. Also, comment below with your thoughts on what happened. Take care.